Hi everybody, this is Corey, and today we're going to be introducing a new YouTube series, and I'm going to call it From Knowing How the Pieces Move to Really Knowing How the Pieces Move. So whenever I talk to people and the topic of chess comes up, I would usually ask them if they know how to play. And most of the time, they would reply, I know how to play, I know the rules, the basic moves, but beyond that, I don't know much. And so if that applies to you, then this YouTube series is for you. And I hope you'll learn a few things out of it. So the very first thing that I want to do is introduce you to me. So my name is Corey, and I'm a college student. I go to FAU, and I'm a junior now. Over the summers, I teach chess at a camp for 8-year-olds to teens, so I'm pretty good at teaching chess. So I want to avoid a lot of the technical jargon that you see in top-level commentary. So, for example, the US Chess Championships are happening right now, and the St. Louis Chess Club, it's a great resource. They have tons and tons of videos that you should watch. But for their commentary on the championships, if you're not up to that level where you're not so familiar with the terms, the algebraic terms, you might be a little bit lost. And for me, sometimes even at my level, I can get overwhelmed too by the amount of variations they just talk about and expect you to follow along. So in the series, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, and I'm going to use as limited technical terms as possible, so to speak. So today, we're going to be talking about what to do once you know the rules. For those of you who don't know the rules, this will look pretty overwhelming, and I'll have resources for you in the description. There's this excellent YouTube video by Chess Network. His name is Jerry, and he's a national master. He explains how to play in about 10 minutes, and it's one of the best videos I've ever seen that really teaches it effectively, and I take his style when I teach my campers how to play. So I'll be linking that video in the description if you don't know how to play. Now, if you do know how to play, but you don't know what to do next, then this video is for you. So here I'm going to be talking about what to do in the opening. And in the opening, there are a couple of things you want to aim for. So yes, the ultimate goal is to capture the enemy king, or to checkmate him really. But in the opening, you don't really want to focus on doing that, unless if there's a clear weakness, and in that case, go for it, but make sure you're right. In the opening, a few things you want to do. The first thing you want to do is maintain control of the center. And what I mean by the center are these 4 squares in particular. So, and these squares are called D5, E5, D4, and E4. And you can tell what the squares are by matching up the letter you see here with the numbers you see here, and just line them up to the square, and that's what the square's name is. So this would be A1, and this would be H8. You probably already knew that, but just in case you didn't, now you do. So you want to try to control these 4 squares in the opening, or try to have influence on them if you don't occupy them. So that leads to the first question. Okay, how do I do that? So the very first 2 common, most popular openings that you can play is either D4, or you can play E4. And these are both very, very solid, backed by heavy theory. You can't go wrong with either of them. Me personally, I recommend D4, and I'll get into the specifics of the opening a little bit later, but for now, I just want to tell you what things to aim for in the opening. The opening choice doesn't even really matter so much. All you need to do is stick to the fundamentals and you'll be okay. But I will, maybe in later videos, go into depth of the openings that I play, and this will get you through. And the openings I play don't require too much theory. Anybody can learn how to play them. So what you don't want to do in the beginning is go directly after the king. I see a lot of beginners countless times try to bring their queens out or bring their rooks out pretty much right away. So like a typical game would go like this. They would bring their bishop out, and maybe they make a move like this, and all of a sudden they bring their queen out early, hoping for a quick checkmate. But hear me out. If you're a beginner and you're really looking to improve, do you think by playing the same 4 openings every time, hoping that your opponent doesn't see that you can checkmate him, hoping that he doesn't notice the threat, is that going to make you a better chess player, or are you just going to look for cheap tricks? Now, when I was also a beginner, I used to play moves like this a lot against people, and a lot of the times they didn't see this. They would make a move like knight f6, and they'd lose right away. But ultimately, that doesn't really teach anybody anything, apart from, okay, here's an opening trap you got to watch out for. But once you start playing like these kinds of moves against more experienced players, you're going to be encountering some defense. So, for example, if I play pawn there, you're going to have to move your queen, because right now I'm threatening to take it on the next move. And when you move it again, you're moving the same piece twice, and that gives me an edge in development. So, you know how white has the first move? He's already a tempo up. Why go down a tempo for no reason? Why give black more reason to develop? Another thing that I see beginners do is play moves like a4, let's say black plays that, and then they bring their rooks out early, kind of like this. Well, first of all, here it gets taken, but you get the idea. They bring their rooks out early like this and try to use it for an attack. First of all, not such a great idea for a few reasons. One, the rook is a vulnerable piece in the opening stages. That's why you want to try to not touch it for as long as you can. Pieces can come out and attack it, and most pieces that are going to be attacking it are not worth as much as the rook. So if you do trade, odds are it won't be in your favor. So most good players will keep their rooks behind until it's time to take them out. Well, how do you know when it's time to take them out? I'd say once you finish the opening. But again, it changes. It depends on the position. So, right, so you want to control the center, and by doing that, you want to develop your pieces. So these guys back here, they're very well protected in the beginning. Just by the start, just by the way it is, they're pretty well protected. However, they're not doing a whole lot back there. You want your army out into the game so you can have the best opportunities for them. So the best way to do that is to simply bring them out. So what I like to do for white, it's called the London system, and it's just a quick way to get pieces out in the game, to get you to a playable position. And it goes like this. I would make a move like d4. Let's say my opponent plays d5. I bring my bishop out right away to f4. And what this does, it brings out the bishop, right, to a good square. And it is not going to be locked in behind these pawns. This is a little bit more of an advanced topic. This is called a pawn chain. Once, for example, I make this move, this right here, this is a pawn chain. This is just a chain of pawns. 3 in a row like this. And if my bishop were inside, it would be lacking development. That's why I moved it outside in the first place. But I'll get into the specifics of the opening later. I just wanted to show you a good way to develop pieces. So black is going to do the same thing. He's going to also develop his pieces, but I'll continue mine. See, I'm bringing out my knight. And notice how I'm bringing these pieces in the direction of the center. I'm not moving these pieces all the way out to the side. I'm moving them to the center. This is a good square the knight wants to go to. Usually in openings, the knight would play to f3 like that. Sometimes you can even move the knight to e2, but for clarity's sake, just move it to f3. So just develop pieces. Just get them out into the center, control the center, and you should be okay. So I'm just gonna show you just a couple of moves, just to show you what a good setup for white is. So something like this. Now all my pieces are out, pretty much, and my opening is very, very solid. This is the London system. You're pretty much going to see this system a lot in these videos, and you can't really go wrong with it. Most of the time, no matter what your opponent does, you can have this setup and get into a totally fine, playable middle game. So we said you want to control the center, and to do that, you want to develop your pieces. Your pieces have to go out into the game. They're not doing much in the back. Another thing you want to worry about, well, not worry, but you want to focus on, is king safety. So you don't want to lose to an early kingside attack, and one of the best ways to help protect your king is to castle early in the opening. So castling is, when you get these pieces out, just for simplicity's sake, castle. And now the king has a nice little wall, and this protects the king a lot, and it's something you want to aim for in the opening. You could also castle queenside, but that could be a little bit riskier as there's more space for your opponent to attack. But you do want to watch out for some threats when you do castle kingside. A common trap you would see is maybe they would line up their queen and bishop here on this diagonal and shoot for this pawn, because it is a weak pawn, especially if this knight were to move away, because it's the only piece aside from the king that is giving protection to this pawn. So aside from that, the other thing you want to focus on in the opening is not to lose material. So what I mean by this is that, yes, you don't want to put a piece on a square where the opponent can take. So, for example, if it's the opponent's turn, it wouldn't make sense for him to play a move like this because it drops to the knight. The knight would simply take. That's why it's important to always ask yourself, if I move my piece here, what can my opponent do? Can he take it right away? And if the answer is yes, you should probably look to play another move. And that is pretty much it for the opening. That's just the basics. And that is the video for today. Stay tuned for more. More videos that are going to be coming out are going to be talking about things like resources you can use to build your opening knowledge, things you can do to analyze your games, how to plan your games, middle games, tactics. There's a lot of content coming out in the future, so please be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay tuned for all of that good stuff. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Goodbye.